WWOZ 90.7 FM in New Orleans, Louisiana. Johnny's Cajun Show. Jolly for Solo. The Raging Cajun across the Big Pond Railroad, Louisiana. Now we're going to hit it with the Lacasine special right here. Hourly Journey, right down.
Right now, that catches us up on all of the songs, and we're happy to have right now in the studio Mr. Noah Arceneaux, who's doing some research on Cajun radio, and he's got quite a lot of research and a lot of work to do, and he's has an interesting. I didn't even get a chance to read his 15, 16 page synopsis of what he's doing. He's researching all of the radio from South Louisiana and East Texas, and this is one of them of Cajun French and I guess Zydeco too. So welcome, Noah. And
Bonjour, je suis Professor Arceneaux.
All right.
Yeah, I'm here in town doing research. I also want to take a moment to say assalamu alaikum to Mira Khubsurat Bivi. My lovely wife is listening in California. I'm grateful that she, kind of took care of things around the house and made it possible for me to come out here to Louisiana for 3 weeks. I've done research on Cajun radio before. My family's originally from Louisiana. I grew up Air Force. So, we moved all over the place. We'd come back for crawfish boils, Easters. I remember pocking eggs. I think that's
pocking eggs.
I remember that.
Yes, yeah. That's big in my
So we'd come back and
hometown.
pock eggs, and then we'd do a crawfish boil. And then, so I feel connected to my Cajun identity, but it's difficult when you don't live here. And I've been a professor for about 15, 16 years, professor of media studies. I've traveled to India, traveled to England, do research projects there, and I just decided, why don't you just, while you have some life and energy left in you, why don't you research your own people? And you summarized it pretty well. I'm looking at radio stations that used to broadcast in Cajun French, or ones that still broadcast, even if it's just a little bit. The historical thing I'm looking at, and also people who are doing it today. And I think it's really, really cool. Even though I don't speak French, I'm going to learn. But I think it's really cool that people still keep doing it. And even after, people predicted that the language would die 50, 60 years ago, it keeps going on.
Yes, well, Codaphil and the musicians have done a lot to keep things going. And so tell us some of the interesting things you found on your trip here with some of the characters you've seen.
I've met some interesting characters. One of the things that's really been helpful to me is to learn geography. I mean, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but not having grown up here, people would say names and I would look it up on a map. Now I have a better sense. So I was like, okay, that's why Golden Meadow maybe speaks a different French than they do in Eunice. There's a big distance there. Now I kind of understand that. And that helps me too. Earlier, this really isn't about Cajun radio, but it's about New Orleans radio. One of the first commercial stations here in town was WSMB. The W, like a radio, S for Sanger Theater, MB for the department store, Maison Blanche, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. The studio was located on the department store's 13th floor. And the radio performances were done for public to entertain the public. And while you're here, why don't you go shop in the young women's section, right? I mean, it's a smart move. So the department store got out of it a long time ago, but the name, and the theater, I think, wanted to promote their musical acts. The department store wanted to promote itself and sell radio receivers. If you're a farmer, why would you buy a radio receiver if you can't listen to anything? Well, we're going to give you something to listen to. So I drove by the Ritz-Carlton building now, just to see it, and then lo and behold, the Sanger Theater is almost right next to it, and I was like, oh, that's why they work together. So learning the geography, actually coming to a place, is really helpful. They're not just names on a map and information you can't find through Google. So learning the geography was interesting, and I found some information which strikes me as really comical, almost, that the first Louisiana French was probably coming out of Texas radio stations.
Oh boy.
That kind of struck me as odd. Hackberry Ramp. Okay, radio came to the Acadian area of Louisiana, not New Orleans, but out in Lafayette area. It came kind of late. New Orleans had a station. Shreveport had a big station. But there weren't any stations there. But there were stations in East Texas that seemed to have been playing Cajun French music. Beaumont, Port Arthur, and even Houston. Because I found references to these stations, references to some guys from Crowley had a show in Houston called the Bayou Land Boys. That sounds like a Cajun band to me. Yep. The Bayou Land Boys from Crowley.
It definitely is.
1931. So I'm developing this notion that maybe Cajun radio actually started in Texas and then migrated to Lafayette and Lake Charles.
Well, a lot of Zydeco music is pretty prominent in the Beaumont, Houston area. A lot of African Americans went to get jobs, oil field jobs, and out in Houston. There's even a part of Houston, a historic part called Frenchtown, where Clifton went, and that's where he had his frottoir fabricated. And the story goes that's from Chris Stratwitz that we did a tribute to some weeks ago. So, let's see. So, what do you hope to produce?
I think I'd like to do a book.
Oh, wow.
Eventually, as my wife's family says, inshallah. It means something.
Inshallah.
Yeah, it means like
God willing.
God willing.
Yes.
And it's a nice sentiment to say. I think it's a nice. Yeah, I'd like to do a book, or find other ways to share my joy for this culture. I'd like to share it at academic conferences, or maybe find a more public facing kind of website that the public might enjoy. I'd like to share what I'm finding. And I'm finding a lot, to use a fishing metaphor, it's like I found too much fish to fit in my boat. I have to come back with a new boat. Which is a good problem to have. I have to come back to Louisiana. That's what it basically means, often, and frequently, because there's so many people here who have firsthand experience, which I obviously don't have, and are willing to share, and people want to share, and everyone's so super nice too. I think it helps. My last name's Arceneaux.
Yeah.
I think that helps a little bit,
A little bit. Definitely does.
But I think people are genuinely nice in general. I forget how polite people are in the South. I don't consider San Diego the South. Walk into a store, walk into a store, and someone says, "Hey, how are you doing, honey?" And I look around, I'm like, "Who are they? Who are they talking to?" "Oh, they're talking to me." That has happened to me.
Well, what else can you tell us? There's any music or any things that I guess you collected some things, and have you seen anything that's really surprises you or shocks you or hit your fancy? Or
there's something I'm looking for, and maybe I'll put out a call. We'll crowdsource this. We'll crowdsource this, okay? In 1938, LSU did a series of broadcasts in Louisiana French.
Oh, wow.
This sounds kind of a little insulting. They wanted to improve people's French, okay? They wanted to improve their French, but also give them information about, how to get a job, how to boil water, just 4-H kind of, ag extension kind of messages. I was looking at the files at the LSU archives. Clearly, it was put on record. It was sent to a number of stations, including JBO Baton Rouge, KVOL Lafayette, I think maybe KPLC Lake Charles. Where are these? If they were put on disc, maybe none of them survived. But I think it would be remarkable. It would be really cool just to have it. But also, I'd like to know what kind of French were they speaking. Were they speaking? Someone says the curlicue French. Were they speaking the curlicue French, right? Or are they speaking? Or are they speaking a more conversational kind of French? Or did they regionalize it like it was I guess Avoyelles Parish has its own accent. Was it the Avoyelles Parish accent?
Wow.
So that's what I would like to know. Like, what were they actually speaking?
All right, everybody. Start looking now. Tell everybody you know.
I have a record of 45 of someone in Lafourche Parish running for sheriff. They made a record of an announcement, a political ad, and they put it on a record of 45. Il était prêt galoper pour sheriff. He was running, galloping for sheriff. That's the word they use there. We say in my area, courir, run. You're running for office, courir. But then I guess in Lafourche Parish, it was galoper, galloping for sheriff. And I have that one.
All right, Roland,
can
you verify that for us?
Homer Records or something like that. I think it's what it is. I didn't think to bring it, but that was interesting. So. So are you going back, and how long did you stay here? And you're going to do more research?
This is about the tail end of a 3-week little. I've been meeting a lot of people, people, and then I'm going to go back to San Diego, try and come out once more. I teach 3 classes, so I want to go when I'm not teaching. I know August is hot. Everyone's like, you're coming to Louisiana in August. Are you crazy? But I want to do it, and I can't do it when the academic year starts.
Oh,
so
that's right.
and also if you thought, or if I ever thought I could do this, I could Zoom interview with you over the phone, right? I could listen to your show online. I could buy tapes through eBay or whatever, But coming here, I'm learning so much, like the geography and then the different accents I hear and like different food stuffs I hear. I saw boudin nachos. Okay. I mean, I can understand it. And then someone said, oh, we have boudin quesadilla. Okay. Like, I would never find out about boudin quesadilla in San Diego.
Are there none of your research has to do with any of are there any Cajun stations up in California or?
Well, I'm being a little bit of snob here. I'm using geography to define what I'm talking about here. I mean, I would extend Beaumont, New Orleans. We'll lump New Orleans in. Some people might not. But anything north of it's Alexandria, I think. No, I'm not doing. I'm not going north of
any
Alexandria.
in Houston?
Houston, maybe. I guess Houston, maybe. But also anything that's online only. For people who study, like I do, media studies, the internet's great, but it's also confusing. Okay. Like, where is a newspaper from? It's published everywhere instantly. A streaming station, where is it from? So I'm looking at stations that have a physical presence here. KBON is online, but they have a studio in Eunice. I think they're licensed in Mamou. And then you guys stream online as well, but you do have a physical presence here. And apparently the location of where you are, there's some thoughts on that and feelings about that.
Yeah, you bet your boudin.
Well, we want to thank you for coming out and look forward to you coming back. And Rich, we hope your research goes well.
Well, I'll just say,
sounds interesting so far.
Merci beaucoup. Everyone's so friendly and helpful to me. And no, it's really nice. I mean, I'm a stranger basically, but we both share a passion for this culture and music. And I'm really grateful you can give me a chance here to speak to the people.
Okay. Great. Merci, Noah Arceneaux de San Diego State, right? And, OK, on va continuer la musique. Beau Soleil avec Quelle Belle Vie.